He thought this would be above Earthlings.
Well, it could be. If we find out they exist, then it's because of their communication to us. But they're going to be a long ways away. Space is enormous. Even the closest star could take a lifetime for a crew going from here to there or vice versa.
Senator Nelson, do you think there's life in the universe beyond Earth?
Yes, I do. I mean, who are we to limit this creation that is infinite? And by the way, Tim, that's one of the reasons we want to go to Mars. We want to find if that water is there life? Was it developed? If it was developed, was it civilized? If it was, what happened to it? And what can we learn from that we could be better stewards of our own planet?
Commander?
I'm sure that somewhere, at some time, whether at this present time or in the future, in the past, that there is or was or will be some life somewhere beyond Earth.
Let me return to our terrible subject at hand, and that's the explosion yesterday. Are you confident that NASA will examine every shred of evidence and there will not be in any way, shape, or form any type or attempt at cover-up?
I am absolutely confident in that. The people that are there, the people that I worked with, people led by Sean O'Keefe today are absolute professionals, and there would be absolutely nothing to be gained by a cover-up.
Senator Nelson, should there be a presidential commission like there was in '86 after the Challenger?
If they don't find the cause very soon, indeed there should be. I've already called on our chairman, Senator McCain, to start our own investigation. But if they don't find the cause soon, this is a national tragedy. Indeed, this is an international tragedy. We should have an investigation at the highest level.
Buzz Aldrin, will we get to the bottom of this? Will we find out exactly what happened?
I think we'll come close enough to be able to plan a judicious course for the future. And I hope to be able to contribute to looking at the various alternatives of how we proceed from here to have a future that our children and grandchildren will be very proud as we set course on doing that. You know, Mike Collins in Columbia brought us home, and it was Columbia that was lost yesterday. I think that we owe it to the people who lost their lives in the Apollo fire, the Challenger, in Columbia, and all the other contributing losses that have gone in sacrifice for the future of our space program.
And we are back. John Glenn, welcome.
Good. Thank you, Tim. Thank you much.
I want to take you and our viewers back to February 20th, 1962. Friendship 7, the first American to orbit the Earth. There's your capsule bouncing in the Atlantic, taken aboard the USS Noah. Here you are, one happy John Glenn, a relief. Look at that response, leaving the White House with Lyndon Johnson, your sainted wife, Annie, married for 60 years by your side. An American hero.
Oh.
And yet, when I go back and read about your own reentry on that space capsule, manually controlled, holding the heat shield, and what did you see flying by you, looking out the little window pane?
Well, the window was right above my head like this, so I could glance up a little bit like that. And the retro pack, which had been left in the middle of the heat shield, in case it was loose. There'd been a signal, two signals from two different stations gone to the ground that the heat shield was loose. And so we left the retro pack on, and it burned off, and there were big chunks of it coming back by the window, burning and going back along the flight path. And so it made for a very spectacular re-entry from where I was, I can guarantee you.
Can you still see those flames?
Yeah, I sure can. Very vividly impressed on me.
When you're in that situation, do you think, oh my God, I might die?
Sure, that enters your mind because you don't know what's going to happen there for sure, but you've been trained to keep working through that time period. The worst thing to do at that time period would be to panic. And so you keep working, keep damping out the motions to keep it centered right, and just keep working right on through, and that's what you've been trained to do.
36 years after you orbited the Earth, you returned to space on the Discovery, and we'll show you a picture here of John Glenn, age 77 years old, up in space, trying to learn more for science. Let's listen.
Thank you, Kurt, and thank you all down there. It has been a great ride so far.
The shuttle mission at age 77, watching what happened yesterday, realizing that you were part of the shuttle program. Your thoughts?
Well, obviously, it's a horrible thing to have happen, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family, of course. I think maybe it's good, though, with the way the conversations have gone yesterday and even this morning, to remember that we're not up there in space just to joyride around. We're up there to do things that are of value to everybody right here on Earth. It's not always just looking on out and planning to go to Mars. That'll happen sometime. But the reason we're up there and have the station and spend all this money is to do things that right here on Earth. And some of the things that they had on this particular flight, on the Columbia flight, were things like tissue generation of a certain type, human tissue generation that could be done up there in 3D in a bioreactor that give a hope of maybe preventing the transfer of cancer cells from the prostate to the hip bone, which is a normal metastasis that goes through. Now, my dad died from that. Every male, if he lives long enough, will have some cancer cells in the prostate, they tell us. Maybe we can stop that. We have crystal growth up there of type that will let us do chemicals of greater purity and better refining, perhaps. We have a combustion experiments that were going on. These were all on this particular flight, where combustion now is being done with lower fuel air mixtures than ever done before, which may apply to automobiles and better conservation right here on Earth. These are things that, you know, the reason we do these experiments, and they had 90 on this particular flight, was for the benefit of people right here on Earth. We're not doing things that are going out into space. That'll come eventually. But these things are a benefit right here on Earth, and I think we need to remember that.
On your own shuttle mission, you were doing some experiments on aging.
Aging, because the body, the things that happen in aging as a natural process here on Earth happen short time to the younger people up there, and they recover when they come back. Body's immune system changes. The osteoporosis sets in. There are about 8 or 9 things that occur like that, and if they occurred on me, then would I have a different reaction to the younger people up there? And could we learn maybe eventually to take away some of these frailties of old age right back here on Earth, and at the same time permit younger astronauts to make longer flights? That was really the purpose of it. I think, too, there's another thing that I think about when I think about, let's think big picture just for a second. What made this country great? And it was education, it was research, basic fundamental research. It was the quest for new knowledge, pushing back the frontiers of knowledge. And whether it was Lewis and Clark going west, or whether it was the moving to the mountains or the Mississippi or to the West Coast or whatever, there have always been people found that exciting to learn the new things first and to put them to work. That's what has led our nation in a tiny little time capsule in history to exceed the whole world. We're leaders of the whole world because of that kind of emphasis, and these people gave their lives pursuant to that, just as much as any of our explorers did back in history.
Let me take you back to May 25, 1961. A young American president named John Kennedy set a goal for this nation, and you remember...
...commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
And we did it within 8 years.
We did. We did it short of the time period that he had set.
Should our president now set a goal of putting a man on Mars within the next decade, the next century?
I think, well, maybe that far out, yes. But within the next few years, as some people would have us do, establish a goal to Mars. My attitude has always been that at each step as we go along in the space program, we should maximize the research return as a benefit right back here on Earth at each step. And I think that's the way we should be going. We have the station up there right now. We have 16 nations. We're a leader of the world because of the research we've done in the past. We have 16 nations involved up there on this station right now. Greatest engineering cooperative effort ever. A whole new leap forward in international relations. We've led the world because of that kind of leadership. We have the respect of the rest of the world because of that kind of leadership that has benefited not only us, but all mankind. Medicine, research, life expectancies longer, standards of living up, mainly with American leadership in these areas because we've been willing to push back these frontiers of the unknown.
How old are you now?
I'm 81.
And you still have that pioneer spirit?
Yeah, like to go again.
You do? You would go up on the next shuttle flight?
Oh, yeah. I think what we should be doing, if they send someone else up, we should be developing a database more than just one person, so it should be somebody else. But if NASA said, we found something we'd like to look at, on your body again in space, would I be willing to go? I'd be down there tomorrow morning.
John Glenn, we thank you, and let us leave by listening to the words of President George Bush talking about our future in space from yesterday.
The cause in which they died will continue. Mankind is led into the darkness beyond our world by the inspiration of discovery and the longing to understand. Our journey into space will go on.